Hello and welcome to another retrotastic episode of RGDS, your retro gaming discussion show. Yes, it's me, Paul Driscoll, aka the Drisk, and joining me is my usual partner in crime. Yes, it's Gordon King, aka Kingy. How are you, matey? How's
Hi,
things?
mate. I'm well, thank you. Yeah, it's nice to be on another episode with you. You know, can't really account for my time, to be honest. Just one of these, this time in life where work's busy and real life's a bit busy. So, yeah, it's just like, wow, we're into almost June already, and the summer is here, I hope, at long last after all that rain.
Yeah. It's starting to get more sunny days than rainy days, so that's always a good sign.
I don't know what we're complaining about, because in sunny days you're less inclined to be in playing video games. You know, when it's raining, it's like, yes, gaming day.
Exactly.
The wife doesn't have a list of chores out in the garden for you.
You see, I live in an apartment. You see that? Cunning.
Yeah. Yeah, quite right. No, I don't mind. I do like being in the garden, to be honest.
Yeah,
but,
I do miss when it's sunny, having your own garden. But
yeah. So how are you? You good?
yeah, pretty good. I'm really pleased with the update of the Amiga books.
Mm-hmm.
It has now been given the green light from Turnbull, the ever Eye of Sauron spots everything. He's a brilliant, as I mentioned, brilliant proofreader, but he's declared both books as proofread now. So they're done. So the next thing we're going to do is record the podcasts and then release them to all our lovely listeners and beyond. So looking forward to that.
It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to that. It's a bit meat in the bone with that one, isn't it? And a labour of love.
Oh,
and more
it
so
is.
for you. It's your machine, your system, and doing a top 50 on your beloved, no other beloved Amiga games, you know. And there's going to be banter. There's going to be some heated debates about the numbering and positioning of certain games, because everybody has different likes and dislikes, and that's fine. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, we all have our own memories, and I mean, hell, there was 4 people that worked on this, Turnbull being the 4th, and all of us completely disagreed with the list. But but equally, every one of us agreed that, you know, despite the odd placement here and there or what have you, it's a good encapsulation, and I think one of the best Amiga lists out there, personally. You know, it really captures the big hitters. And of course, because at the back of the book, I've done hundreds of little mini reviews covering the far wider library of the best that there is. At least everything that I felt deserved a mention got a mention. So that's good. Yeah. You know, even if it was in a little box out. So yeah, I'm really excited for people to sort of see it and see it in its completed form. And I really hope people enjoy it.
Yeah, so I suppose people are wondering when the actual book's getting released, but I think we agreed that we'll do it in tandem with the episodes.
Yeah. So what we'll do, we're planning to do a 2-parter, because it's 50 games plus the sequel, so it's another, like we did with the crazy Your Sinclair.
Oh, that was madness! Yeah,
episode. You know, it's similar scope, and of course there's 3 people giving viewpoints, so
that will take a while.
It will take a while, so they will be long episodes, but we know our listeners love the long episodes. They love the long ones, don't they? Who misses? So we're planning to sort of do it as a 2-parter, and that ties in nicely with the books being in 2 parts as well. So we'll stagger the release, so we'll release book 1, and then when we release episode 2, we'll release book 2.
Yeah, and the links will be in the show notes, and probably known Drisky on every social media channel ever for months, plugging it. But quite right, because you
I really want people to get to that. I mean, hopefully it will encourage people to listen to our lovely show, but I mean, to be honest, it's probably been decades now, I've attempted and failed to write a retro Amiga books. You know, in terms of, I've always done too big a scope for things. I mean, this is big scope. I mean, it's still like 850 pages across two books, but it's the book that I've always wanted to see written on the Amiga. You know, where it's got the detail, it's got the memories, it's got all the hardware, it's got all the bundles, and it goes in depth into the people who worked on it and the publishers and developers and things. So it's just got everything. It ticks all the boxes that I've wanted to see in an Amiga book.
It does, yeah.
Hopefully people will enjoy it as much as
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. So cool. Anything else you've been up to, or just life busy?
I mean, to be honest, I've been playing some text adventures. I just took a bit of a notion for that, just rather than playing a game, sitting and chilling, doing that. So there's a new one that's came out on ZX Spectrum called Innsmouth, which is very much HP.
Oh, so HP Lovecraft.
Yeah, HP Lovecraft, yeah. And you are a fellow that on his travels to go to Arkham, he decides, oh, there's a little mysterious, he feels a lure, a pull to this mysterious, you know, eastern seaboard town, as in many of these books like that, or inspired by that. It could be Stephen King, or it could be a horror movie people have seen. It's in that way. It's, I'm not accusing of being cliched. I mean, it's quite a common trope, isn't it? And all is not what it seems in the village, to say the least. One, it's not very much populated and anything like that. But in terms of a text adventure, the actual UI is one of the most beautifulest graphically designed ones I've seen in any Spectrum adventure. It just looks really nice. It's only concentrating using the hues of cyan and green from the Spectrum colour palette for the graphics and that, so it gives it that kind of eerie feel to it anyway.
Nice.
So it's nice. So it's not just, you know, a big screen with text coming up. It nips your eyes because there's so much to read. Yes, because of that, the text has to be a bit more concise and stuff like that. But it's, I've played it to completion there, so it kept me.
Wow,
it kept me hooked. To be honest, it's split into 4 parts where you can get so far. Well, it doesn't really matter now with save states, but if you're playing it on real hardware, you know, it's a different kettle of fish. So you can get to, after chapter 1, you get the password for chapter 2, so you can just load in that part of the cassette or whatever and move on. So broken up like that, it doesn't feel completely overwhelming like sometimes it is with text adventures now.
Yeah, it's like a series, isn't it? Like
it is.
Each
So
one's an episode.
Yeah, if you like your Lovecraftian adventures, I will say check that one out. It's nice just to delve back into a text adventure from time to time. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, and not everyone enjoys doing that. But you know, when I get a chance, I just want to sit back and, you know, just read a little and just get sucked into the atmosphere the authors of the game are trying to create. Then I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I need to. I really want to get back into some of the text adventures because I did the you know, the back of book 2, like the best text adventures on the Amiga, in my opinion. Obviously, most of them are on the PC, and you know, it just reminded me of some, you know, how some of them really interesting premises and that. And
they are. The only ones the trouble with the Amiga ones for me was I always felt some of the text was quite squashed, you know, and they crammed a lot in onto the screen rather than using the bigger font. It was a more high fidelity font. And go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I just, I mean, these days I play the PC versions, and you've got like a variety of interpreters where you got more control of the font and stuff.
Yeah. It's just that you're probably like me. If you want to read something in depth, you'd rather print it on paper rather than reading it off a computer screen. I feel like that all the time. It's not something I necessarily like reading a lot of on the screen, because you spend all day at work on it and that, and your eyes, eventually when you're home, your eyes are just nipping doing any more reading on it.
Oh, I'm too tight to print out.
I know.
Just costs too much.
What I do like when I was writing stuff for your book,
Yeah.
I tend to use, a black background and white writing or green writing or something. I prefer that, because you have the option to do that in modern PCs. And maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe you were able to do that on Amiga. I don't know, because I didn't really delve into the text adventures at that point on it. So I may be proven wrong.
Some of them did have like extra graphics and stuff like that on the Amiga version. They made use of it. I tell you one. I think it was one of our listeners on our Discord shared the game when I played it on the BBC. They've got the 30th anniversary of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they've added like a nice UI and like some basic images in the top right hand corner, but it's the Infocom text adventure, so I have been dipping into that since that was shared, because that's it's one of my favorite books of all time. So and of course it's got extra bits written by Douglas Adams himself.
Good.
Nice. Right, anything else you want to say, or shall we go into the show itself?
No, I mean, unless there's anything you need to add, but no, I'm all good to go.
To be honest, I've been fixing books, the proofreading finds of... that's all I've been doing, unfortunately. I haven't yet had a chance to play Lucy Dreaming. That's still on my list to do.
Okay.
I'm hoping to. Right, okay, so let's go on to the episode itself. And we thought we would revisit the Sony PlayStation, the first one, Sony PlayStation 1, and Arcade Racers. Now, we already have done an episode of Arcade Racers, but we thought we would cover far more obscure ones this time, isn't it? The ones that never get talked about. But, they may not be, the best or up there with...
Or necessarily classed as hidden gems, but still good enough to deserve a mention.
And it was good, and that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted ones... I mean, some of these I knew, but to be honest, I went looking at... you had fantastic books. I'll put them in the notes. You've got Daddy Kong Rule, who's done a whole series of pay what you want retro books. Amazing amount of effort that he's put in. And I basically poured over his PlayStation 1, where he's gone through every single game, small box out reviews, and then picked out ones that were arcade racers that were interesting.
Yeah.
Some of them I've played before, but and I'm sure it's the same for you, Kingy, as well, isn't it? But no, overall, I'm really happy with the choices, and the thing that I'm excited for our listeners with this is that I suspect there's going to be more than one that are completely new to you. In which case, would love for you to try them and tell us what you think.
Yeah, play along with the episode,
Yeah. So should we go on? There's no particular order, but should we go on to the first game? Because we've got a lot to cover.
What we got?
Yeah, so this is just random order. The first one is Courier Crisis.
Courier? No, they're bringing curries to your house, are they?
How do you say it then?
Courier.
Courier.
No, courier. It's a courier, not courier. Courier. It's like, that's Just Eat.
I've always called it Courier.
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 Not Q. You're going Q like
delivery boy. Let's call it delivery boy. You've heard of paper boy. It's delivery
not Q. Boy. Coo. You go coo. Just coo. Like you daft coo, like a cow in the field. You daft coo.
Anyway, so let's say what about this game. What should we say? So now this came out on both the PlayStation and Sega Saturn, and I have played this before on the Sega Saturn. I've never played the PlayStation version, and it's done by. It was published by BMG Interactive Entertainment, who, of course, that was one of the sub-names that went on to GTA and whatnot, and developers New Level Software Incorporated. And what can you say about this one? So you're delivering sort of
cocaine
and things. Cocaine,
he's delivering cocaine.
Yeah, that would be a bit more interesting, wouldn't it? And it's a sort of a free-moving open city, and you cycle on your little bicycle. Serious sort of graphics, and you just sort of cycle following the instructions, deliver the document or the cocaine, and then go on to the next person to pick up the delivery and repeat. So it's sort of Crazy Taxi on a bicycle, really.
Yeah, the PlayStation's answer to that, nowhere done near as good.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, of course, 1997, so closer.
Actually, 1999, Crazy Taxi came in.
Yeah, so this was before. Yeah,
before it, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting concept. It's got nice sound effects. It's nice, sort of like open, flat city, quite mazy, unlike the freedom that you get on sort of like Crazy Taxi. But premise-wise, it's really good. I mean, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I did have this as a backup version of it, shall I say, back in the day when I discovered there was this chip put inside my PlayStation by myself.
Just woke up one day.
I woke up and I'd done it in my sleep, and it just so happened, the security seal, the warranty was void, and this microchip was put inside it, allowed these backups to perhaps work. But yeah, certainly glad I didn't buy it. But it's funny looking at it now, Paul, right? Because you're right, the cityscape looks not quite as good as how that's evolved now. So games like this can really date pretty badly because you've played things far better. It's evolved quite rapidly. I mean, look at, say, Grand Theft Auto 3 and the cityscape and stuff like that, But let's not take away that we're back to 1997 on this. And back then I thought it looked pretty neat, and I just loved the whole idea of not being in a car for once and having the freedom and the manoeuvrability of a bike, the freedom of a bike that you do see in cities that you nearly run over when you're in your own car or get hit by them when they are delivering in the city. But I love the idea of being able to leap over things, kick and punch the pedestrians. That's the best bit in the game.
They really go down flying, isn't it?
They do. The time limits can be quite brutal trying to get to either get to your next package or drop off the current package that you've got. But it's still got a good arcade feel to it. There's nothing wrong with the game. I just think now, comparing it, because this one, the amount of wobble and shudder that's on the PlayStation 1 version, even on emulation, where you can fix the geometric stuff and whatnot, right? It is unforgivably shaky and shuddery.
I was really shocked because it's so much better on the Saturn. I mean,
that's the point. Yeah, it doesn't do that in the Saturn because of the way the Saturn handles the graphics way differently than this.
Yeah.
And that was a bit that shocked me because I don't recall seeing... You don't see that. It's like you don't remember slowdown in old games you played back in the day, like Fairlight on the Spectrum. There was Night Lore, right? They were bad for slowdown when the screens got busy. But as a kid, you didn't notice that. And I'm kind of taking that kind of view that it was still cutting edge when we were playing this on our TVs. And that kind of thing wasn't as bothersome as it would be today from a retrospective point of view.
No, I agree. I mean, the premise of it is so good that it does carry you on playing it. I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, if you go past and you're not lined up and you don't pick up the item, it's so frustrating. Like turning around is really, really slow. I mean, as it would be on a bike, isn't it? I guess. but the controls are like, ugh. And you say it's brutal, so like you make one silly mistake like that, and particularly as you go on in the game, that's pretty much you failed that level.
Yeah, but I do like the fact that when you do pass the levels, you do earn money, therefore you can buy better bikes as well. So there's an incentive to take the shortcuts, take risks to get the higher score, to get a better bike that has better handling, better speeds, or whatnot. So that's important. You can't. Well, maybe you can. You get these speedrunners that never upgrade and try to win it as fast as possible or whatever. But I quite like that upgradability in the game.
And it's got lots of little touches. I mean, I love like as you go playing through, you'll have like alien invasion type levels where there's like
aliens,
the grey aliens. The greys are there, and you punch them as you're sort of like going through, isn't it? There's always like, it's just one example. There's lots of really nice touches with it, and it is very funny, like punching people, watching them fly.
Yeah.
Or is that just me?
I think one of the more sort of painful things on this period of PlayStation games is the mix that they do of 3D and 2D. So all the humans and all the rest, the pedestrians and that, they're just like the spectators on, Colin McRae or V-Rally or any golf game you've played where they're just 2D bitmaps rather than 3D rendered. You get that because of memory space and processing power and all the rest,
part of the time, isn't it?
Yeah. It just, in a game like this, it just becomes a bit more prominent. And this was the one for me that was a retrospective shock. That I'm not saying it's bad by any means, I had fun playing it, but just it looked dated more than I hoped it. I was excited going in because I hadn't played it for years.
Well, I was excited because, of course, my memories is of the Sega Saturn version, which is, I wouldn't say infinitely better. It still has a lot of the same problems, but it is definitely better. That was probably the biggest complaint I had of it was the controls were shoddy. The shuddering and everything made it more of a chore than it should be. But the premise sort of carried on. I'd love to see a remake of this.
Yeah.
I'm surprised actually that maybe it does exist, but like an indie company or what have you have not sort of taken the premise of this.
Yeah.
And then
maybe there is, and we've just not really looked for it or whatever.
Because I think it's got elements of Road Rash, it's got elements of Crazy Taxi before Crazy Taxi, but you get what we mean, and it's got nice variety to. It does make you want to keep on playing, even though it's sort of frustrating. Yeah. And he's saying like being able to like jump on vehicles, and sometimes you have to jump on vehicles or do various things to complete the game. It does keep it interesting, along with, as you say, buying better bikes and what have you. Yeah.
Would you like it if they reimagined Paperboy with this and made some kind of hybrid game of both on a modern system?
I don't know. I think Paperboy's got to be from the viewpoint. Actually, did you ever play? Sorry, I'll go on a tangent. But did you ever play Video Kid?
No, I haven't. I remember you telling me before.
Oh, you need to pick that up. It's only a couple of quid. You can buy it on Steam and all the. I know Switch definitely has it. So I expect Sony, PlayStation has it. It's really good. If you love your Paperboy, it's like that, but you're delivering like videos, like VHS videos.
Yeah, it's done in more voxel style graphics.
It's voxel style, but what's great about it is not only does it play fantastic, but more importantly, it's got so many like 80 movie references and everything.
The Video Kid is no longer available in the Steam store.
Is it not?
It's gone. It's been delisted.
It's definitely, it was definitely on the Switch because it's on my wish list. So, last time I checked, it was on my wish list, unless that's been delisted as well.
That's because you can buy it at itch.io. He's just because he gets better revenue because you know what, Steam's quite expensive.
Oh yeah.
So,
well, we'll put a note on it, but yeah, no, that's. If you
it's
like
under
the thing,
name your own price. So technically, if you're a stinge, you can get it for
you can
free.
try it for free.
Yeah.
But definitely support them if you can. It's
Oh, absolutely.
yeah. So no, I mean Courier Crisis, I did enjoy it.
Courier. I'm laughing again, Courier.
No,
Sorry.
That's how I say Courier. I can't help it.
I've
You
never
can't
heard it
teach
pronounced like that.
You can't teach dogs old tricks. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of the weakest ones tonight. But I enjoyed it, and like with all the games, I enjoyed my time with it.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm glad it was on the list.
Now, it was Charlie that did a lot of the
I should say that
footage.
again. So, Charlie invited Charlie over for the day, and he had a wonderful time playing through it. He also agreed this was the weakest. He really got frustrated with the with the controls.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, I sat down for a couple of evenings playing all these myself as well. But it is nice having it recorded, and also I was able to, because I was off that day, I was able to sit down with him and sort of play the games as well when he would let me have the control of the
over my dead body.
He's not good at sharing.
He's not. I've seen that.
Yeah. When he's in the zone, he's like, no. It's because he wants to beat the level himself. But yeah, no, it's good. I would play the Sega Saturn version though. Oh, just another tangent. I've not picked one up, but I've been really tempted. Have you seen like on AliExpress and like that I know it's a bit dodgy from China and whatnot, but they've done it's like a full Sega Saturn in a horrible case, admittedly a horrible case, but they've put like an SD card reader where the CD is.
Have they? How much is that going for?
It was surprisingly cheap. I mean, it was something like I need to find it. It's been a while, but it was like it was something like 130 quid. It wasn't like ridiculous price.
Yeah. It's something of course that you might be
free.
I know when you spend that kind of money, you go, oh.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we've all bought stuff from
AliExpress. Sorry.
We've all bought stuff from AliExpress, and everything's I've ever bought's been delivered.
To be honest, I've never actually used AliExpress myself, but yeah, I mean, I'm tempted with it because obviously I love my Sega Saturn and whatnot, and emulations, as we've discussed like in previous shows, it's not bad, but it's definitely the Sega Saturn is far behind like the other. Consoles or for emulation,
things like that. The emulators are just a bit less accessible to use, which is also off-putting. Whereas some are just wow, this is genius. It's straightforward to configure, get it up running.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully with Launchbox and things, it wasn't that bad sort of setting up. But you're right, because I can hide the actual emulator and just it's click and play.
Yeah.
But you do find it's a lot better than it gets better all the time, but you do find the odd texture glitch and stuff.
Absolutely.
I've not had a chance to try Courier Crisis on the emulator. I'm going from my memories.
Yeah.
Just didn't have time to play the other versions of all of these.
No, you can't.
Because time was of the essence. But I mean, any more you want to say on this? I mean, the one thing I would say actually, just quickly, the Russ Patterson, who's the guy that basically did all the design of the game. Interestingly, he did the port, the Sega CD port, so the very early port of Road Rash. The one that came out on the primarily on the 32 bits, but also came out on the 3DO and whatnot. So before he did Courier Crisis, he did the later Road Rash, not the original one that was on the Mega Drive, but the one that came out on the PlayStation 1. So I guess that's where he got a lot of the ideas of like doing all the punching and kicking, I'm sure.
All right.
Yeah. He's done other things as well. He was the programmer on MotorStorm and things like that, and Siphon Filter, Dark Mirror and things. Killzone 2. So he's clearly a good programmer, and this was one of his earlier titles. So yeah, cool,
Yeah.
cool. So, right, let's go on to the next game. And I have gone for... Now, this is one that actually I put on the list because I adore the Muppets. I've always adored the Muppets ever since I was a little baby. They used to sit me in front of it and I'd be quiet for once, even in the little pushchair. And I've always adored the Muppets ever since. I've got every episode and love it to bits. And this is Muppet Racemania, which is a kart racer on the PlayStation 1. It came out in late October 2000, and only on the PlayStation. And it's done by Traveller's Tales, who of course went on to do all the Lego games and whatnot. And it's published by Sony and Midway in sort of like combination, predominantly Sony for us. And it's an interesting kart racer, isn't it? Really, it's got all the characters. It's got a wonderful lineup of even the obscure characters. In fact, it was a great pleasure. I was showing my Muppet knowledge to Charlie, because he was like, "Who's that character?" Like trying to catch me out, and I was like, "Yeah, that's that's so and so." Yeah. So I do own this one. I have played it in the past, but it was lovely playing it on the emulator where it's all nicely upscaled. It's the best visually I'd seen it. So before I go on more about it, I mean, what's your thoughts of this one?
I had this and played this back in the day. I always loved a good kart racer. Being a big sucker for Mario Kart anyway, the PlayStation lacked a beater. There was some that were good. The Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart, that was a decent contender. And I was rather fond of this back in the day. I thought the characterizations of all the Muppets were done fantastically in polygon form. I liked the concept of how each of the racetracks were just based around the different movies as well. So you've got the main Muppet movie, the Muppet Caper, Take Manhattan, even Christmas Carol, Treasure Island, all them. Muppets from Space, so it's thematically inspired from the movie, so it's great to see that kind of take on it. And I remember really enjoying it, and I thought, this is really good for the PlayStation, really bloody good. It run at a really good pace. There wasn't draw distance issues. You never do get draw distance issues in kart racers anyway, because it's short corridors before there's turns and corners, isn't there? So,
how they've designed it, it's short corridors,
Going back, I found it a bit more tricky than I recalled it, to be honest. That there are a lot more turns and twists, and I collided into more walls than staying on the track this time round. But I still thought this still holds up. I would say, and it's a great use of a Muppet license and a tie-in. It's one you can use for a racer, definitely, and a good idea for doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a labour of love. I mean, I love the fact that they've really put such a wonderful cast of Muppets there.
It's like a compliment and an insult together in one sentence.
Yeah, Kingy was there. It's
Drisky.
But it's the problem with it, going back to it, and it's not necessarily a problem. I mean, as the more you play it, the better you get. It's when you have to learn the tracks, and that's where I think our memories of it is so much fonder, is because we did put the effort in to learn all the tracks.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's one of those very European kart racer where they decide to do right angle sort of turns on everything. And I know it's from a technical standpoint, a lot of it. They do have more open tracks where it's sort of outside and more open. But it definitely... It definitely is a hindrance because it sort of takes the fun and flow. You know, they're not taking the same inspiration from your Mario Kart and things like that.
Yeah.
But technically, yeah, really, really good. And once you learn the tracks, it becomes a lot more enjoyable. You know, once you've done a few attempts of it, it gets a lot more enjoyable. It's got nice things as well. Like at the beginning, there's like almost like a Simon Says, where it flashes on the buttons, and then you press the corresponding buttons quickly enough to get that initial boost. So that's quite cool. There's picking up the fruit and the stars, isn't it? That gives sort of like power ups.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that it makes good use of the CD as well, because like at the beginning of every track, it gives you a clip from the respective movie.
Yeah.
And of course you get like Waldorf and Statler, you know, the hecklers making. I don't think it's their actual voices, but it sounds very close. Sort of making a joke about the race, you know, and about to start, and they're pretty well written.
I would have liked it if they two were doing almost wacky races commentary throughout the race. That would have been fun.
That would have been awesome. Yeah. But I guess it's it's I guess Traveller's Tale, you know, they only had so much sort of like budget for this sort of game, isn't it? But no, I really enjoyed this. It's got nice variety. The tracks do let it down. You know, don't go into it thinking you're going to play like a Mario Kart beta or even like Crash Bandicoot beta. It doesn't have that level of polish in terms of the track design.
No, but
there is an awful lot of love.
It makes up its own charm, doesn't it?
Yeah, and for me, it's just wonderful to have such a wonderful lineup. You know, unlocking all the characters is what makes it worthwhile for me as such a Muppet lover. You know, being able to play some of the really obscure ones, characters. But it is frustrating. It's so easy to take a wrong turn. It really wants to make your life miserable until you learn the tracks. It really punishes you quite hard.
Yeah, and I suppose as well it's one I found, because if you are playing it under emulation and you've not really tweaked your analog stick to perfection, you're just leaving the defaults on. You just go to extreme lefts and extreme rights until you learn to be a lot more gentler on the analog stick itself, isn't it? Yes, that's one of the things that took a little while, and I don't know whether so is that just because it's a modern. I guess on the original PlayStation, you obviously had the D-pad, didn't you? But it would have supported analog. It would have supported analog at this stage. Yeah. But it was a little bit twitchy. That's how I would describe the controls. Yeah, definitely, but I still enjoyed it. I did get used to it. Yeah, I did get used to it, and me, I'm just such a Muppet. This is probably the best Muppets game I've ever played. Yeah. Which unfortunately isn't much of a... It's a bit of a backhanded compliment because Muppet games are so terrible, unfortunately. Yeah. I think at the same time I'm playing Diddy Kongs on the N64 at the same time, with something that's got real finesse and real polish. Yeah. And then you come to play this, you go, ooh, okay, but you accept it for what it is. Yeah, it's for me the Muppets, you know, the Muppet theme carries it, and it is definitely a labour of love. You know how good Sonic Transformed was, right? Imagine
Oh, that would be awesome.
That into that, with Muppetness into it, if you know what I mean, the Muppet universe, but with that Sega Blue Sky style racer with Muppet characters, it'd be absolutely fun. You'd love it. You'd never stop playing.
And still
it.
themed. Oh, that would be awesome. And there's such a wonderful eclectic cast of Muppet characters.
I think the Jim Henson's creations do lend themselves heavily to the ability to have video games from the characters. Definitely,
because they're so simple in their design, isn't it? So they kind of work with. They're instantly recognisable, even the obscure ones.
Yeah,
Oh,
by the way, what did Kermit the Frog say when he got to the top of Mount Everest?
I don't know. Go on, then,
Muppet.
tell me. Something, what's that?
Muppet.
Muppet.
Right, okay, right. He's slow to the game, folks.
Oh dear.
It's going to be a long evening.
It's going to be a long episode. But this is, you can at least see the labour of love that they put on this, that Traveller's Tales, like we talked about their wonderful, the Mickey Mania that they did, wasn't it? And obviously they went on to do all the Lego games, which was of course wonderful, and they've always cared about the IP.
You can't take away the Lego games and what they've done with the IPs of, every tie-in, whether it be Star Wars, Indiana Jones, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. What else they've done? I can't go and really play them now, but when you saw them, and they're still working, kids and adults alike love them.
Oh, that's my guilty pleasure, playing a Lego game. I keep hoping. I mean, they're sort of, those days are sort of done. They don't seem to be releasing. They did the remastered of all the Star Wars games.
Yeah, but I'm waiting on like the Evil Dead trilogy Lego. That would be awesome. Or something, something a bit more adult.
With that with the kids. I would love to see a James Bond one.
That would be cool.
And now we're talking about it. A Lego Muppet game would be awesome.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
But no, I think they're great games, and the people that did that, they did. It's got quite, and also like the power ups. The power ups are a little weedy in this. They don't have the same level of changing. Changing the racing. They take more of a back seat than it does on Mario Kart. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's a lot more difficult to sort of like.
Sure.
So sometimes, I haven't said that. The amount of times I just got pipped at the post by a timed chicken held at me. But no, I enjoyed this one. I'm glad it was on the list. Yeah. Any more you want to say about this one?
No, I'm good with that one, mate.
And this one I'm going to pass to you, actually, because
you don't know how to pronounce it.
Well, yeah, I'm nervous now. No. I'm passing it to you because this was your. It was the one that you sort of like asked could we include, and it is Wild Rapids on the PS1. So, do you want to tell our listeners about this game?
Certainly. So, this came out in the year 2000, and the publishers, as in Europe anyway, was Eon Digital, wasn't it? In Japan, it was Fuji Sankei Communications International. That is such a dull name for a games entertainment company. It seems like they're selling mobile phones or something. So, what is Wild Rapids? Well, it kind of suggests it in the title alone. It is a canoeing or kayaking racing game. And I thought that was quite looking for something not just cars when we're doing this episode.
Yeah, we like to mix it up. That's why we put like kart races and different things.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you don't want like 10 or however many we've done of just like boring races.
No. So yeah, it's a kind of, how to describe it, as a downhill rapids, whitewater rapids type game where you do begin at the start line and you race against other competitors down a very, unfortunately, narrow river, probably too narrow for its own good, I would probably say in retrospect. But it's quite good fun. It's again, it's not the best game in the world. Like I said there, it's got its flaws, but it certainly has that kind of arcade feel that it feels like one of those games that you maybe saw as you come out the cinema, and you probably put £1 in it and have a little go of that after the movie. It's got that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
So you can paddle as fast as you can, you can let your paddling go, or you can do a spin in the water to attack your opponents to slow them down to get past them, because if you don't do that, they always seem to be bloody faster than you. But the levels themselves, they've got, although you're always kind of downhill going, in some ways it remembers me of Tubin, by, was it Atari at least Tubin, or was it?
Yeah, it's Atari.
Yeah,
I think.
Just that kind of arcade fun, just in the waters, just colliding with things, trying to avoid, trying to get the fastest time, get down to the bottom of the hill. So it is a bit of rinse and repeat with basically aesthetical differences on each of the levels. Yeah, it's progressively getting harder if you can get past level 1 in the first place, because it's pretty tough, I would say. But you usually got your kind of desert lands with rivers, snow, jungle scenes, caverns, cave kayaking. So it's pretty decent that way. It's just a basic enjoyable game.
Yeah, and there's lots of variety. Like you've got 1 minute you're like on the jungle sort of levels. You've got like either alligators or crocodiles.
Yeah,
probably alligators. Sort of blocking the way, and you've got like things dropping down and causing like boulders splashing. I love the Europe themed level where it's got some beautiful sort of like. Where you're going through sort of like villages as they've sort of flooded the river where the road would be, and away you go, and some beautiful like cornfields with beautiful flowers and things. I mean, there's a lot of variety to it. I mean, there was something about this that keeps you playing. It is frustrating. It's very easy to like lose out, as you say. It's quite difficult to get that sort of speed, and there's a lot of random elements that can be a bit frustrating, but it kind of was worth the pain, because you wanted to see the next level. There was enough variety where it was like, I really want to see where is it going to take me next, and that was like the. It really had all that you could hope for, from Arctic to Volcano to Europe. I mean, it just had... Everyone was a delight, wasn't it, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was really chuffed with this one. I did enjoy. Again, it's one that... It's a little clunky because of being PS1. I would love to have seen like a... It's a shame they never got a sequel on the PS2.
Yeah. That's where it would come into itself, wouldn't it be? Yeah,
I mean, it does a great job, and it looks even more better upscaled. But yeah, it's not. I mean, I kept on thinking of the game Downhill Domination on the PS1.
Yeah, absolutely.
PS2. I mean, I adore that game.
Great game.
And that's one of my favourite PS2 games. And that it kept on putting in mind this, because where is it going down on a bike on Downhill Domination? It's a similar sort of thing where there's sort of like things happening, and you've got to negotiate track whilst racing. But yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed this one. It's really good.
Oh, that's good. It really does give a right arcade essence to it, doesn't it? And that's the point. I just wanted a good arcade game to mention something that was different from the plethora of other, vehicle or automotive racers that we've got on the list here. It's like, well, let's try something. So we've done the bikes, we've done the Courier Crisis, now we've done the water.
Yeah.
There's more to racing than burning rubber, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did find it difficult to get, to get the speed. Like you mentioned, like you got to do with the oars. That took a little bit to get used to. But
what did Charlie think of it?
He really loved it. I mean, this was one that I couldn't get him off of it. He wasn't. I mean, I've got probably hours of footage of the same level.
Yeah,
quite early on, if I'm honest, because he just couldn't do it, but he wouldn't give up on it, and he enjoyed his time. But eventually, it was like, okay, Charlie, I'm gonna peel this off you now. Because we're going to try other ones.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, this was probably one that he liked a lot. Although, he probably needed a bit longer to get a bit better at it.
Yeah, I can imagine if this was an arcade game, a tactile arcade game that somehow simulated oars slightly, maybe in a different arcade type way, that it'd be very competitive in Arcade Club if such a thing existed like this.
Yeah, no, as I say, I would love to see. I mean, this is another one, like with that delivery boy. I don't want to say the word again.
I've embarrassed you enough, sorry, I apologise.
It's one that I would love to see,
Modern adaptation.
A modern adaptation, yeah. I mean, because, when you think of games like H2 Overdrive or Hydro Thunder and things like that. I mean, you could imagine that, but with this and the variety, I think it would be really good. And maybe just iron out that there is a bit too many random things that will ruin your race, which is very frustrating, really.
Yeah.
But having said that, it does it does give you quite good balance. The other computer characters do make mistakes, which always gives you a fighting chance, which is nice to see. They're not doing perfect runs, which a lot of games make. And I love the variety. I mean, every level was some. I know it's just kind of like I guess you could say it's a graphic swap, but I found there was enough variety here that always made it interesting. But I do agree with you that and again, it probably technical reasons. But the track was too narrow.
Yeah, you skiffed off the sides far too often. That it just needed to be that little bit wider just to make it a little bit more.
But I'm sure because it's doing quite good like water effects, and I bet that's quite difficult to pull off.
The water effects are brilliant. The way they rush forward, you do get the feeling of the flow of the river, the strong currents, the eddies, the swirls, all of that is really quite smart for its time. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you put this on the list. It's a good one. It was definitely one of my favourites of the evening, actually.
Okay.
That you did, because I do have memories of this, but I had quite negative memories of the Dreamcast version. And what is it? It's Vanishing Point. It came out in right at the end of 2000 on the Dreamcast, and then later on it came out on the PS1. In 2001, and it's done by Acclaim, published by Acclaim, and Clockwork Games Limited. And I remember getting this on the Dreamcast version and being very disappointed with it. It was just like average, is how I looked
Agreed.
at it. But going back to it on the PS1, I don't know whether it's because the emulator sort of gives nice upscaled visuals, although it did look quite good on the Dreamcast. On the Dreamcast, so to compare it on an upscale PS1.
Yeah.
But I did get quite into this. It plays very well. I mean, it is a little disappointing. The cars are very mundane. That's one thing I never liked back in the day. That you're sort of driving
family cars.
Family cars, and you're like, no, I don't want to drive in family cars. Give me racing cars. You know. But going back to it, I really liked it. The tracks are well designed. There's a good feeling of progression, and you know as you want to build up your cars. It does get to more exciting cars. You do get up to your Dodge Vipers and things like that. That makes it fun, and there's a nice variety to the tracks. I mean, I came away with a very good impression of this. Whereas, for years it was one that I still own on the Dreamcast, but it just left languishing, with dust because I never bothered playing it. It was one of the bottom tier racing games on the Dreamcast as far as I was concerned back in the day. I mean, what's your memories, and why did you want to sort of include it?
Because I think it really stands out. I mean, it's not ever going to be Ridge Racer, okay? But I'm a huge fan of the Ridge Racer series, where it be, Ridge Racer, Rage Racer, or R.
Oh, Racing R.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
The story mode one, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. That's probably is my favourite racer on the PlayStation. It's gorgeous to look at.
Have you ever played the GameCube version of that, by the way?
Yes, I've
Racing
got it. Yeah,
that's a great one.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's fantastic. So, to me, it kind of gives more the vibes of that kind of finesse and quality of a racing game. Just the presentation, delivery, the exciting sceneries that you drive through when you're playing the game. I mean, there's so much going on, speeding past trains, busy metropolises, excellent tunnels, countrysides that break into cities. You name it. The game has got excellent visual design to, feed your eyes as you're racing through the tracks. But there's just a real sense of good speed in the game, and always a urge and need that you want to catch up with the car in front of you. You always have the arrow above the head for the leader. It's a bit weird. I've never quite understood the timing in the game in terms of your race position, because I didn't read the instructions and it was never clear. So, if you're doing fast enough, there's always somebody in front of you. They always have an arrow, right, at some point. But depending on your speed, it says first previous split or second. What does previous split mean in this game,
weird,
Paul? Maybe you can educate me here, because I'm ignorant of this.
No, I didn't. I was completely lost on that.
Basically, my grasp on it is, as long as you're going fast enough, then you'll pass. But there will be leaders in front of you. It's not about getting in front. It's like competing with your personal best in the segment before, or I don't know. I would only be guessing. Just race good, don't crash, and you'll complete the course.
I presume what I guess, to be honest, I just raced and was glad if I got to the next stage. But I'm assuming the previous split is, as you say, it breaks it up into chunks, and it's, did you get the fastest time in that segment of the track? Yeah. But no, I really came to enjoy this. Particularly, it opens up when you finally get better cars.
Slightly better family cars, yeah.
Yeah, well, you get up to Aston
some
Martins.
sports ones, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's weird that they sit you in some pretty.
Well, they want to do that to make you progress from a sedan driver to some form of coupe. So, you know, it's like, right, you're doing better than us, so move up. So they're not giving you this ultra sports car to begin with. You have to work and earn it. So that's fine. I don't really have an issue with that, to be honest.
No, and a lot of places, but I mean, you know, other cars will, other games like it, like, you know, MSR or Project Gotham, they do quite quickly get you up to what, you know, maybe not your dream car, but a car that you'd be, you wouldn't be embarrassed to be in. But no, I really liked it. I like that, particularly the track designs. It's got good, good AI where the cars will crash and make mistakes. I always felt you were in the game, and it played really well. I mean, I didn't have time to sort of like crank up the Dreamcast version, but I'm curious whether it's just a better version on the PS1, or whether, you know, I was just turned off by the mundanity of the
I don't know.
of the cars.
I'm the same. I always was under the impression it's a mediocre Dreamcast racer, but I did also have it on the PlayStation as well. So, but I did get it for the Dreamcast later. You know what I mean? After I had this, just when I saw it in a bargain bucket, I purchased it. So
yeah,
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, my memories of Vanishing Point really was back.
They have vanished, yeah.
So, yeah. So I just know that I didn't. I couldn't even tell you why I didn't like it. It was that long ago. But going back to it, certainly on the PS1, and particularly nicely upscaled through the emulator.
It's gorgeous. It looks great.
It really looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it plays. It's a really mechanically good.
Slick
racer.
racing, yeah.
The only thing, slight criticism, is say it's a bit weird how it determines whether you're first and that side of things. It really needed that just a bog standard sort of like, you know, first, second, third. That would have been a lot better, in my opinion. But
Chandler like this one, yeah.
Yeah, he quite enjoyed this one. This was totally new to him. Yeah, it was one of his favourites of the night, actually. He got quite into this one. And it's definitely one that I've played since, obviously, as I went through the games myself, predominantly where I could get hold of the controller. But also, it's one that I probably will carry on playing. It was nice discovering... you know me, I love my arcade racers, so it was nice sort of discovering one that's not half bad, and I'm just curious why I was so down on it back in the day.
Doesn't matter, you're making up for lost time now.
Yeah, cool. Right, okay, so shall we go on to
what we've got next, Drisky?
Yeah, so this was a curiosity because it's a cave racer, actually, cave developed racer. No, they have done other cave racing games or like snowboarding games and things, so it's not, they didn't do just your shooters, of course everybody knows and loves. But they did do a sort of racing game in 1997, so quite early on the PlayStation. It only came out on the PlayStation. Obviously, it's been re-released over the years. But and it was sort of like published by Atlas and variety of ones. So what can you say with this one? I mean, what did you think of this one? Do you want to describe it to our listeners?
You've not said what game it is, so I've not got a clue what one it is yet, mate.
Sorry, the game is Peak Performance.
Yeah, so sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was curious with this because obviously anything that's Cave, of course, they're so synonymous with their racing, with their shooting games, that I'm always intrigued when they do like a non-shooting game. And I always have a soft spot for Atlas published games as well because they always tend to be quite interesting. So I wanted it on the list for those reasons. I do have my own views of it. I won't go into yet, but I mean, I just wonder, do you want to describe it for our listeners?
Right, okay. It is it's designed as a kind of answer to Cruising USA by this development team. To be honest, I'll be frank and say I've shot better. I think this is, and it goes really fast, right? It really does, but I played this right on the wake, in the same order, basically. I played Vanishing Point and reconnected with that first and came on to this. I went, oh my God, it feels like I'm playing a DOS game racer.
Yes, that's a good way of describing it,
Yeah, that's how it visually looks. It felt like I was playing Carmageddon or something like that, okay? And it's a very confusing racing game where I can get lost on the bloody tracks. Not at the start, but later on, and right angle turns in the cityscapes and that. The first level is done. I suppose it's equivalent trying to simulate a Sega Blue Sky Racer done by Wish.com is the only way to describe it. The car looks like it's been made in the Eastern Bloc that you have in this, right? It looks like a Yugo or some older form of Skoda or something like that. There's no aerodynamics to it. It's one of these games where they've designed it and you can barely see the wheels of the car, so it looks like you're in this ugly looking futuristic vehicle that's floating in the air, controlling.
Because the backgrounds aren't too bad, isn't it? It's just. But
there's the
right,
blur off to the distance, so you get a good feeling of depth from them. They don't feel that, sometimes when the games like this, they put bitmaps on the background, they're quite blocky and things. It's not like that in this game. I mean, it's all right. I'm not saying it's...
Yeah, none of them are absolute turds. This, I think, was probably the weakest.
Well, it's the first racer with awful screen tearing, quite crap pop-up from the draw distances.
Yeah.
Because you have like bushes and trees on the sides of the rolling hills on either side of the road, and it just feels pretty weak in comparison to what we've been playing, to be honest.
I suppose we've got to remember the others came out later in the PS1 life cycle,
I respect that.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, this was definitely for me the weakest of the evening. You say very confusing tracks, easy to like take a turning where you just end up in a dead end, and that pretty much ends it for you. It's. I was disappointed with it because some of their games have been quite, non-shooters have been quite good.
Of course.
With I forget their snowboarding one, but it was one of the weakest. It was not terrible. None of the games I don't think tonight are that bad, but overall it was a bit disappointing. Have
you, in general? Obviously, it was released on by Atlas. Okay. To me, it was always a seal of crap quality. I didn't really rate Atlas as a publishing house, to be honest. I mean, obviously, you've got, I suppose, Don Pachi is on Atlas, isn't it, on Sega Saturn and stuff like that. So, and Strikers 1945 and stuff like that. So, but I've got a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to Atlas. Perhaps that's because I'm familiar with them on, say, the Genesis days or the SNES days, and the PS1. I'm just not so sure about them. They always instilled fear in me. Is this going to be a quality game? But I may be doing them a disservice, to be honest. Now, got listeners shouting, "No, what about this game? This is excellent." But from the games I've played in the past, it wasn't.
There is one that I can't remember. It was done by one of our listeners. Did like a video of which was a cave snowboarding game, and unfortunately I can't remember what it was, but it was. Okay. There'll be video playing of it because I'll find out after the fact. But yeah, no. Overall, it's probably the weakest of the evening, really. But I'm glad to have played it. But yeah, it's probably.
I didn't feel the urge to. I played it as long as I can humanly bear. I mean, it's fine enough, but there are far better games. Right. Are they trying to do this whole screamer type thing in this, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's... They're trying to do sort of like screamer... it's... The problem is the controls are like a shopping cart, so you're always bashing into the walls, but it doesn't matter because the walls don't actually take much speed off you, so you can sort of do quite well just by being really bad. I think Charlie summed it up well. He said it's all right, but I don't feel like I'm racing.
Right.
He didn't feel in control particularly.
It's an on-rails racer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he felt it was doing it all for him. So
yeah,
for him it was one of the weakest of the.
But what I'll give it credit for is the sensation of speed on it is excellent.
It is, yeah, and
it runs at an excellent level of speed, which then in turn forces a lot more pop-up because the draw distance has to work quicker.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it pales in comparison to a lot of the others, but I guess I was just curious with it because when you initially look at it, I was thinking more, it's like Initial D. Which I'm a big fan of. And the levels looked interesting, so I thought, I'll give this a go. It's not really Initial D like I thought. It's more, as you say, like Screamer or something like that. But it does have more Japanese themed sort of mountainous levels and things.
Yeah, I do like overall, when you can see inside the cars that you do see the driver steering the wheel and changing gears.
Yeah, it's a lot of nice touch, and of course we must remember that this is pretty early on in the PlayStation life cycle. So I guess give it a little bit.
It's one that is severely dated visually, more than anything. I think for me that is like, I mean, I think we even said that when we did our Evolution of Racers game, that racers have evolved and you're still a sucker for an excellent modern day arcade racer. It gives you that, the feels that you're looking for, and in its dust or in its smoke, it's burning rubber, it does leave, minus the classics, it leaves it behind in a trail of its own smoke. I think it's a genre that does succeed over its previous generation.
Yeah, I sort of agree. Although, I mean, I do like going back to
of course, I'm not.
Some of these definitely still hold up, but no, I think we said all we can on this one. It's probably. I mean, is it one of the weakest for you of the night, or?
Yes, it's the weakest. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Okay. Actually, I'm going to throw a curveball because I did have this on our list. Hope you did it, but I dropped it off my notes. So I've been frantically making notes. We're that organised, listeners. So this one I wanted this included because I've recently watched the Ferrari film with Adam Driver, which is all about the Mille. I'm going to get lambasted by you again, aren't I? The Miglia.
Oh, who knows? I mean, who knows how to pronounce this?
So basically, the Mille Miglia.
I just got Mille Miglia. Let's just say that.
The Mille Miglia. This was a race that happened in Italy from I don't know, probably from the 1920s. It was a really famous race. It was like your Monte Carlo, and it lasted up to the 50s, where there was a horrendous crash that killed like lots of villagers. That were health and safety wasn't that important back in the day.
Never heard of it.
Barriers. So you had like all the people like sat with their like picnics and things, and there was a horrendous crash and it killed a lot of people. Very sad, and that's why this race was shut down. And never again did you get a race where it was basically racing on real roads where there isn't the health and safety in place. I mean, obviously get your Manx TT and things like that and what have you, but this was literally racing on sort of villages. So it's a very good film. I really enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
And I've been I was looking for because I love that period of racing, that sort of like from the 20s up to the 50s, where it's sort of different times. And I was looking for a decent one because the ones that are on the Amiga are absolutely atrocious. The 1000 Mille and stuff like that. And there's a few arcade isometric ones, but I was quite excited to play this. I've never played it before. I mean, as I say, came out in 2000, done by Kung Fu Games, something I don't really know much about, and published by SCI Games Limited. And well, I've got my views of it, but I mean, do you want to describe it a little bit further for our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, for those that like, the earlier period, the origins of all racing's become, the seed of it is here with the cars and the sports cars that they had in this period between the sort of 20s and 50s that they're offering the game. And I think visually it looks quite incredible, to be honest. I'm a big fan of the arcade 1000 Miglia game anyway. I love that.
That's the isometric one, isn't it?
Yeah, the isometric one. It's quite a tough game because the corners come up really quick, don't you? And it's very much a reaction game of quick jerking and twitching to go around the corners. But this modern, or at this point modern, take on racing games of that style, I think it looks gorgeous on the PlayStation. And I love the idea of the open road, just passing through towns and countrysides, and I love that kind of thing. That's not just on a real dull Formula 1 circuit, which bores me. I mean, I like the more arcadey F1 style games, but modern ones do nothing for me. This is quite a treat. Have I played it? It doesn't seem unfamiliar, but I don't recall playing it at all. But it was like a comfy pair of shoes that are well worn. You put them on and you played the game, and it delivered exactly, to me, the experience I wanted from it. Just racing with classic sports cars. And I think it's trying to be respectful of the period to capture, I'm not saying it's a historical piece, but it's trying to capture the imagination and spirit of racing back then. I think it succeeds quite well in doing so.
Yeah, and it's nice you can choose different time periods, so the different cars, isn't it, and things like that. And you're right, there's a nice variety, and it really makes you feel, as you say, you're racing through villages and the Italian countryside. It does a great job. As you say, it looks amazing. I think the only thing that I struggle with, and again, it's probably me being like with modern sensibilities being a wimp, but I did find it frustrating that there's obviously there's sort of no rubber banding or anything like that. So you make one mistake, like major mistake, and it's very difficult to claw back from, which was frustrating. But I kind of, as I say, it's certainly the best, racing game based on this particular Mille Miglia track. In my opinion, I mean, I love. I mean, the arcade ones are better, but they're isometric. They don't really feel like you're racing on the track. So it was nice, and it, having watched that Ferrari film and playing this is another bizarre area that's been overlooked, I think, by by racing games. I mean, there was that Microsoft Grand Prix, wasn't it, that did the classic version?
Yeah.
But again, you're right, they were on like ordinary tracks. I don't think there's ever been another Miller, this kind of racing track game out there. It's weird that the PS2 era never saw an equivalent. I guess it just didn't sell well. But the levels made me want to play this more. But it was quite, so you're just sort of soaking in the atmosphere, and it, as you say, it still looks fantastic. But it was frustrating where often you just knew you'd lost the whole race, and they're quite long, and you can't restart it. So there's no easy way to restart it. So you're like sort of, which is our ultimate no really with racing games. They shouldn't punish you in such a way. But thankfully the tracks looked beautiful, and it was kind of still an enjoyable thing.
When I played this, I just treated it like your preserved car that your grandfather left you, right, under a canopy in his garage. You've taken it off and you've went for a Sunday ride in it. That's the way I've treated that game. I'm just going for a cruise. I don't care. Yeah, you want to see the next levels for the next scenery, but it was more just the enjoyment of cruising in a classic car. I quite enjoyed. I found it more, because I went in with that mindset that wasn't really racing. I was quite content just driving.
Yeah, and it's a shame that it's just needed that little bit of polish, that little bit of where you're up against the other cars and you feel you've got fighting chance to really elevate it. This could have been so close just with a bit of polish and honing to a classic.
I'm with you there.
Not quite there, but I'm so glad I played it, and it's one that I will go back to because it's. I think it's just such a shame that we don't have more racing games that's set in this period. I think it's it's a nice period to have. Right, okay, so shall we go on to the next game then?
Yeah, what's next, mate?
Yeah, so the next game is Running Wild, keeping it sort of like mixed up a little bit here. It came out in 1998, in the end of 1998. It was done by Blue Shift Incorporated as developers and published by Sony. And I think the characters are somehow involved with, is it Crash Bandicoot? They look very familiar, but they're not like the main characters. But
no, it's not Naughty Dog or anything like that. So.
No, it's not Naughty Dog. Yeah, I don't know. They just looked a little bit familiar, but essentially, it's what you do in this game. It's a running game. So again, we just did it to mix it up a bit. You sort of run and slide, but you can choose a variety of characters, so animal characters, so you can be like a zebra and things like that. And I think in modern times that this would be great as a Madagascar license.
That would be good, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be the penguins every time.
Oh, every time, yeah. That's Mira's favourite. That is the penguin.
Mira has taste. You tell her
she loves Madagascar penguin. She finds it hilarious. As I say, dotted around, there's there's sort of jump power ups, and there's like boosters, and there's things to collect. But you also have like turbo boosters that speed things up for you, and you run hell for leather around the track and get there to the end first. And I think this is, for me, this is one of the best runners like this that I've played, to be honest. I thought it worked a lot better than your what was the one, the Sonic one, the Racing R, and Speed Freaks was another one.
Speed Freaks is another one. You've got that Micromaniacs as well.
A Micromaniacs. Yeah, Speed Freaks was the kart race, wasn't it? Yeah, Micromaniacs is one I was thinking. Yeah, I mean it's not an all-out classic or anything, but I thought playability wise it worked quite well, this one. I mean, what did you think of it?
Yeah, it was all right. This is new to me, this one. Never played this in my life before. But it's instantly accessible. You know what you need to do in it. And what I quite like on it is there are multiple paths. You know, like in Mario Kart, you can take the shortcuts and such like to shave seconds off your time. This game has multiple routes that, depending on your style of running and skidding and sliding and grinding, may suit your character better. If it just depends. It's a game of learning the route, knowing the routes, knowing the shortcuts, and see what suits your running, racing, jumping style better. The only thing it doesn't work for me is it probably needs the Benny Hill theme tune when you're racing on it, because the legs are going 6 to the dozen, aren't they? Really rapidly. It's like it's on fast forward mode. And also it's like the feet, just the way the layers are and the graphics, it's like the feet of the main character. It's a suspension of disbelief in any of these games. That's the point I'm making. And with that, the feet aren't ever touching the ground, right? You feel it's very floaty. That's probably an easier word.
Yeah, but it's kind of what you want, doesn't it? The important thing is it's floaty look, but not in controls. You always feel you're in control.
Oh, totally, yeah.
I was very impressed with how well it controlled, actually, which is why I put it above, like, your Sonic R and other ones where you're running. I thought this controlled a lot better, because like you, this was completely new to me.
Yeah.
Just
good
one
good
that
level design. Right, you get caught, but you're not angry, right? If you replay the level, you just decide, right, I'll remember that this chasm is here and the lava pools are down the other side, and it cheered me up. It doesn't pretend to be anything else than what it is.
Yeah, and that's probably how I sort of went with it. And I mean, it's got some biggest names. You got John Brooks involved. He did a lot of was like technical director on Haunting, starring Poltergeist, some of the early ones, and had been involved on the PlayStation port of Hydro Thunder and things like that. So these are good sort of like guys working on this, and I think that comes across where this really it just plays really solidly. It's technically impressive, and really enjoyable. It's one that me and Charlie had a lot of fun with, this one, where we were taking turns sort of like racing and just try to get a better time than the other person and get on to the next.
Yeah, it runs at some pace, doesn't it?
And very impressive. And more importantly, it runs at a pace that the controls can handle.
Yeah,
so
good point.
so when you're always running, you feel you can negotiate. You genuinely feel you can negotiate all the things ahead of you. Yeah. So I thought it was a really polished game. Nice variety to some of the levels. Not an absolute classic. I'd still put it in the maybe 6, 7 category, maybe 7. I'd say.
Yeah, because it doesn't get all that great reviews in general.
No, and I sort of get why. I mean, perhaps there's not enough to the game for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you're buying full price, doesn't matter in today's world. I guess visually, it's maybe not the prettiest game, but where it's got it where it counts, where it is control wise is all pretty solid, and I'd say it is a kids game. So by that I mean, and maybe that's why I liked it. It was quite easy to get quite far in the game and do quite well. Yeah. I didn't feel I was being challenged that often in the game. It made me feel like a boss. Which, to be honest, after some of these games, like particularly like the last one, it was nice, refreshing to have a game where I felt like I was doing a lot better. Yeah, I wasn't being punished. But yeah, no, I enjoyed this one. And say like you, it was the one completely new to me. Yeah, so it's nice. Fab. Any more you want to say, or should we go on to the next game?
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah, so we're getting up to the last 3 now, and it is Streak Hoverboard Racer. This is another one that came out in 1998 in November, and it's an interesting one. I mean, it's done by developed by Single Track Entertainment's Technology Incorporated, and it came out on the PlayStation, and it's variety of the stores since then. The PS3, Vita, and stuff like that. And also it's on Antstream as well.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So you can play it on Antstream. How do you describe this one? I'm going to pass it to you to mix things up a bit. So do you want to describe to our listeners?
Yeah, it's a futuristic hoverboard racing game. I mean, a bit cyberpunk to it, I suppose, if you want to call it that. Which is, it's kind of got the skateboarding. It's still trying to retain the punk-esque skateboarding culture to it, like the future. It still belongs to the nonconformists and whatnot, and they like to race in the lesser populated areas of the city, whether it be the sewer drains or the aqueducts or the hidden alleys and such like. But as the game goes on, you get more and more interesting levels, more in that. As a speaker, there's a particular level I thoroughly enjoyed. Sometimes I always debate on level design and, should have put this level first, because sometimes people fire up the first level, it's a bit dull. They don't tap into it and progress and play later on, which gives for a way more better game, if you know what I mean. Maybe they do a basic level that serves as an introductory level that gets you the grasp of the game and you get the hang of it. But the following level after that, as I was saying, sewers and whatnot, goes into the clown type fun house, and I think that's brilliant. That level, it's absolutely excellent to play. There's so much going on with spiral tunnels and opening the opening mouth and flashing lights, and creepy clown faces. Now, that's by far my most favourite level in this game. It's just fun to play. In terms of the fluidity of the game and the handling, I found it maybe a wee bit oversensitive again, but that could be the controller I was using. But I got used to it and was just a bit lighter touch again, and I got the hang of racing against other opponents on the track. But I love the graphics. I think it visually looks brilliant. Like what you said with Peak Performance, the background of, say, the cityscape and the skyscrapers looks quite good and strong against the main racing foreground. I like the fluorescent hues that come off the trails of the hoverboard, stuff like that. It's all nice touches. It runs at a good pace. I think it's, it's no Tony Hawk's. If you're a proper Tony Hawk's fan, you might find this very restricted, because it's more akin to 1080 or something like that, set in the future.
I mean, it's more like trick style or those kind of...
Yeah.
Racing is the paramount bit of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But as you say, it's got nice effects. I mean, I'm always drawn to Hoverboard, because we all saw like Back to the Future 2 and and you always wanted to be on a hoverboard. So I'm always drawn to that.
I am crap on skateboards, so I'm never going to be any good in a hoverboard.
No. Well, fun fact, I was banned from being on a skateboard.
Were you?
Mum and Dad, yeah. Because my sister managed, thankfully they were able to sort it out, but she's always had teeth problems, but she knocked out her 2 front teeth as a kid. Yeah, so I was never allowed on it, because she decided to go down
right. So
go
the
down
sins
a hill
of your elder sister,
first.
then the young one doesn't get to do it because you could break a bone or whatever.
But no, you know what a klutz I am. That's probably a good thing, to be fair.
Well, the same thing happened with my brother, but it's because I whacked the skateboard off across his face because he called me a name I didn't like.
You were
vicious, I was banned as well for different reasons. You're not brandishing a weapon.
Oh, bless. Yeah, no, I mean, I wanted to add it because it's, as you say, it's nice. We wanted to make it not all about your car racers and things. We wanted to mix it up a bit, and again, this is maybe visually in places it's a little ugly, but it is a PS1 racer after all. But there's enough nice effects, and you're right. There's things like the funhouse level and things. There's certainly a nice variety to the levels as well. Yeah, I mean, it's, again, I'd probably put it as maybe a 6 out of 10. It's not a classic, but I'm glad I've played it, and it has nice effects. I quite like the water effects in it. Again, it was another good one, and I like the variety. It just I'm probably with you. It did feel a little bit clunky in the controls. Not terrible, but this is another one I would love to have seen, like a sequel. I'm really blanking today. There was a hoverboard race that we covered on the PS2, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah, I know, and I can't remember what it is. I'm just trying to...
Yeah. Oh, Airblade. That was it.
Airblade, yeah.
Yeah, Airblade. Although that was more sort of like your Tony Hawk's. In fact, I don't think we covered it, because we did it and then we realised that it was more Tony Hawk.
Oh, we can edit all this out.
Well, no, we can say to people there's that as well. But I thought, if you enjoy your trick style game, I think this is a pretty good one. And it's done by Troy Leavitt. He went on to do Jerry McGrath's Supercross World in terms of the races. He did some other things like WWF Warzone and that terrible ET, the Game Boy Advance game in 2001. Yeah.
Abysmal.
Yeah, so or Game Boy Color game, sorry, not the Advance game. But not good with that. But I'm glad it was on the list. Not a classic, but it runs at a good pace, and it was pretty playable, really. Yeah, so for our penultimate game, spoiler, it's my favourite of the night. Very early PlayStation game, came out in 1996, and it is Burning Road. It's developed by Toka, Toka, and it came... lots of people... Well, I think I'm not sure with Europe, because this was another one that was new to me. It was Vic Tokai or Playmates. I think Playmates saw it in Europe. But this is basically the PlayStation answer to Daytona USA.
Absolutely.
Mixing in elements of... Yeah, it's definitely Daytona USA, but there is a feeling of some Ridge Racer in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, really love this. I thought it looks really good. I mean, it did remind me a lot of, and I'd say this as a compliment, as like the Screamer on the PC,
Mm-hmm.
The Screamer games. But I thought it ran really well. It was really addictive. I love the... when you go through the checkpoints, it shouts out, congratulations, you're through the checkpoint kind of thing. And it's a pure arcade racing.
Yeah.
Obviously, like those arcade racers, it's not many tracks, and that's why it tends to get quite poor reviews. It's only got the 3 tracks.
But 3 excellent tracks.
But 3 excellent tracks.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. I'd rather have 3 really well-designed tracks and great gameplay than lots of average tracks. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you... Obviously, I had a Sega Saturn, and I went down the Sega path for many years. So this missed me out. But I mean, if I had seen this on the PlayStation, I would have been mightily impressed. It does a better job than the Sega Saturn Dreamcast game.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The visuals, they've taken a leaf out of the Sega book. The elongated POV of the car you're controlling, you just know what they're taking that influence from. It's a strange angle to view the car. It does make it look long, narrow, and stretched, doesn't it? Yeah, you can change the views, but you know what I mean. The default view, or even the zoomed out views, it just makes the cars look lengthy. But it's like a signature to the game. It's really good. It's pure arcade, mate. Right? It is. I'm surprised it didn't get sued. That's how. Yeah, it is. This is the thing. It's almost plagiarism to. I'm not saying necessarily complete Daytona, but you feel like Sega's going, you copied our formula to the point we should have patented.
Even the font looks like it's lifted.
Yes.
Like when it says like the countdown of the timer countdown, looks straight out of Daytona. I mean, it is. It is a big rip-off of a lot of the mechanics and the feel. But having said that, the tracks are completely different.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're great. They're great tracks. Short, not very many of them, but I mean, I didn't know this game existed, so when I fired this up, I was like, bloody hell, where's this been all my life? Why didn't I know this was out on the PlayStation? Because I was buying up racers left, right, and centre. But this, I don't recall reading any reviews of it, and I bought the magazines back in the day. No demos came of it. So, I mean, I take it came out in the EU, yeah?
I assume so. I mean, and this was, again, it's not very clear, really, whether it came out in the EU or not. I mean, I'm like you, this was completely new to me. This was me reading the Daddy Kong Rule and saying, ooh, that looks like... well, my initial thought, it looks like Ridge Racer. But then when I played it, it was like, oh no, this is Daytona.
Yeah. I can't get enough of it, mate. It's brilliant.
Yeah, this was such a pleasure of the evening. I mean, whereas the others, 6, 7s.
Apart from Vanishing Point, this and Vanishing Point are the top contenders for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is hands, because I love me arcade racers. So anything.
This is what
more
if
Daytona.
If we had 10 games or so of these for the episode, we'd be having like arcade racer overdose. You know,
but it would also have been quite a boring episode because it would have been
kind of
all
repeating
the
what we're
same.
saying. Then, yeah.
But this is this is one that for whatever reason I've didn't really have a PlayStation at the time, but you know I've collected for many years. I'm like you. Whenever I see a racing game, and I've never seen this in the wild, I would have picked it up. But actually, I'm going to look up. Actually, did it come out in Europe?
I'm just going to look up eBay and see how much it is on eBay.
So I'm looking. It did come out in all the regions. It's published by Funsoft in Europe. I'm curious what it costs.
You'll get it for 20 quid on eBay.
It's not
too
bad.
And the disc alone is on, if you're not interested in the case, $6.99.
Oh wow! So it's not like a that expensive. I mean, I suppose the only thing is you only really got half an hour worth of actual gameplay. But I think we're all the same, our listeners as well. We come from that era where 3 tracks doesn't.
That's
feel
all you
that
got.
Bad. Yeah. The idea is you would learn and master the tracks, and it's all really, really well.
Well, did
really
Ridge
well
Racer off
designed.
anymore? Look at that. You just got reverse tracks, and
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean it's. As I need to do a bit more digging with it and see if there's like more hidden tracks. I mean, like always the case.
Yeah,
we can never play it to completion and things, but certainly certainly the ones I played, I was having a blast with this one.
Yeah.
My only problem is, well, it's not really a problem, but it is whenever I play these games, Mira comes along and wants to take the controller. So I'm usually spending a lot of time sort of like recording. Recording Mira playing it rather than me playing it.
Playing better than you.
Oh, she's not there, but she will get there. She will get there. It was good. Now the video footage will be Charlie, because Charlie's very good actually. If Mira does come home, like when he comes round, it's like in the evening. He's grumpy enough to stop her having the controller, whether I'm a little softy. So it's like, oh, Mira, have the controller. Come on, do play.
Yeah, I've seen that arcade club. He just kicks kids off the arcade cabs. Move! I'm going on. Okay. I'm only joking.
But no, this was a real hidden gem for me. I think it's a very good, pure arcade race, and it's always wonderful to have more of that in our lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so should we go on to our final game?
Indeed.
Yeah, so this is another one that was totally new to me. I love the music on it as well. And it is Tank Racer, released in 1998, developed by Glass Ghost, something I don't particularly know.
Never heard of that.
No, and it was published by Grolier Interactive, which I only know from their encyclopedias, so that's quite weird.
Yeah.
And you basically race cartoon design tanks. I really like the designs of the tanks and the nice sort of varieties. So it's a standard sort of like racer, but you can, with controllers, rotate your turret and fire at the enemies.
Brilliant. Even if they're behind you.
Cool. Even if they're behind you can fire.
Yeah.
And you can pick up the weapons. It's got nice, interesting levels. Again, not many, but well designed. You're going through like English villages. You can see with all the road signs and things that it's English countryside. And I had a lot of fun with it. The music's awesome. Really sort of fast-paced dancing. only criticism I have on it personally before I pass it across is the weapons felt a bit underpowered.
Yeah.
It was often not worth spending the time lining up the shot because it didn't, delay them a little bit, but it probably you spend longer shooting them than you do, than just sort of like concentrating on the racing. But beyond that, I thought it was really good. I mean, what did you think of this?
Yeah, it's new to me as well. I'd never heard of it in my life. And fired up, and visually I really liked the look of the sort of metallic sheen on the camouflage bodied tanks. Looked really smart. I just love that it's a kind of don't mess with me racer, big grunty tanks going at a good hefty speed. And, you're forever trying to shoot. You're right. You're concentrating on trying to shoot the bloody tank in front of you, right? And it's all one moving the turret and then trying to drive at the same time and aim. That's like patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. But it's good fun trying. But like I said there, I do like the touch. If someone's shooting at you, you can rotate it around 180 and point back the way and change the camera angle back the way to see where you're aiming and take a pot shot at the whoever's firing at you. But I love the whole Second World War influenced tracks, if you want, whether it be in the UK or occupied Europe or some American influences there as well. It's an enjoyable racer that it caught me by surprise, to be honest. I mean, it gets surreal later on with swing boats and ice cream trucks and stuff like that. So it takes a sort of training camp element, if you want, war training camp element out of the game. It just goes a bit surreal, but it's in Monty Python hands pointing in directions and that. The further it goes on, I think the more mushrooms they've been consuming when they made the game or something. But it's fun, and that's all it is. And it's another different take on racing, that you're racing with tanks and you do have a turret and you have rather than using standard sort of power up weapons because it is a kind of kart racer to a degree, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kart racing, but the tanks,
it's graphically impressive, runs at a good old pace, handling's pretty decent, good use of all the controls in the PlayStation with the turret and whatnot as well, reverse views. It's like, this is quite entertaining. Never going to be the best game in the world, but it's pretty decent.
No. I mean, it's another one where I would, with all of these actually, I would love to see, I think if I was an indie developer listening to this that's got the abilities, I think a lot of these have the ability. All of these would do well concept wise if they came out. To stand out from the crowd, I think it would do quite well.
Yeah, I think people are more accepting of trying to be breaking the mould a little bit more out with the genre. But at this point, it was almost seen as commercial failure because you're casual. There was a lot because of the success of the PlayStation. There was many. I'm not necessarily saying casual users to the system, but it brought in a more less accepting market of diverse gaming. They know what they like. They would the same ones that would buy, each FIFA game each year, or the next Gran Turismo game, or whatnot. They know what they like in a game, and they tend not to be adventurous and try different ones out. Where you and I do like these kind of cookie games that are, trying to escape from modern trappings of at the time of what you expect in a racer.
And I thought this is another one that just never really even knew about. I was sort of like drawn in by the screenshots of the book and thought, that looks like interesting. That's what I was looking for. Racing the games that were interesting.
You chose well.
That weren't absolutely dire. This I really have fun. I mean, the one of the criticisms you do get when you see reviews, and understandable if you bought it back in the day. Again, it's one that's it's a very short game. Not many tracks, not a lot to see or do once you've beaten the tracks. But in today's world of retro games, where everybody's time is short, that's actually quite refreshing, isn't it? To just to have a game that's is fun. Dive in, play it for a bit, and then you're done. But yeah, no, I thought this was another popular one for the evening. Yes. So, right, okay, is there any other little nods you want to give to anything?
You know what, I think we've covered enough for now, because there's always future episodes, I suppose, going down the racing route.
There's definitely more. I've actually I've got lists of other ones I want to cover on my when I went through the book. Obviously I retained all the ones, so I'll have to share with you, and maybe down the line we'll do a volume 3, because we already did do a volume 1 of
Racing Gems, we called it, PS1 Racing Gems. By the way, that was 2021 we did that one.
So it was a long time ago, yeah. So
where does the time went?
But I'm glad that this time that we we did go for the lesser known ones. As much as I enjoy games like Driver and things like that, which we still haven't covered. Yeah. A lot of our listeners know those to death, so we don't always like to go for the nostalgia, but also introduce. I think our listeners love it when we introduce new experiences for them.
Yeah, it's good discussions in the Discord channel, because the good guys in there always like to fire them up and give them a go and give their tuppence worth of what we've said about the game, if they like it or they're not enjoying it or whatever. It's good. It's always nice to see.
Yeah, the Atari Lynx one went down the storm, didn't it?
It did. Some episodes really surprise you, because it's quite a underdog of a handheld that not every always quite pricey and not readily accessed. And yet again, people have got handheld emulators and whatnot, where it be hacked PlayStation Vitas or the plethora of modern retro handheld consoles are out there.
Yeah, a
lot of the guys downloaded the games and got a lot out of them, and that was brilliant to see that. That's the bit I like. I enjoy that the best. Is just that's our job's done if other people are trying these games out.
Yeah, and that's what we like to do. And like with those, I really hope with this one that people, consider trying some of these. Mm-hmm. So go on then. Your list, what would you put as your favourites?
Oh, yeah, definitely Burning Road is number 1, mate.
Yeah.
Then Vanishing Point. Mm-hmm. Oh, let me think now. Probably Mille Miglia. Mm-hmm. Then the Muppets.
Yeah.
Muppets. Mm-hmm. Tank Racer. Mm-hmm. Streak, Hoverboard Racing, Wild Rapids, Courier Crisis, and the absolute turd that was Peak Performance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, I would go for Burning Road top, just pure arcade wonder. Then probably Vanishing Point. I really got into that one. Mm-hmm. Then Muppet Racemania, because I just love the Muppets, and it's quite a love letter to the Muppets.
Yeah.
Then probably Wild Rapids, I'd probably say. Okay. Then Tank Racer. Then Mille Miglia. Then Courier Crisis. I'd say Curry now. No, Courier Crisis is probably the last. Then, Running Wild.
Oh, I missed out Running Wild, didn't I, on my list there?
Yeah, so. And you also missed out Street Hoverboard Racer.
Oh, I did say that. I said that.
Oh, did you say that one? Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're both turned there. Yeah. And then, Courier Crisis was the worst of the evening, I think, for me. Mm-hmm. But, all of them, even Courier Crisis, I had fun with. There's not a bad game here, really. It's just
peak performance.
Grades of good.
stood out as being extremely
peak
weak.
performance. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mention peak performance. Yeah, that was the worst one. Yeah, that was the worst one.
Yeah, I wouldn't go back to that, but the others, as you said, every other one almost screamed out a modern adaptation. Peak performance, I don't know what you would do with that to make it better today.
No, well, that's it. I mean, the only thing it had going for it, which wasn't much, is the sort of Japanese locales, but just play Initial D games.
Absolutely, because they are fantastic.
Yeah, because you get that sort of like feeling of travelling. But I enjoyed. It was nice playing all these racing games again. So, well, playing these racing games because a lot of them were completely new to me.
Yeah, 50-50 kind of, or
really
maybe
nice.
slightly 60-40 even, to be honest.
To be honest, for me, there was only a handful. Yeah, only a handful where I'd played them before. To be honest, Courier Crisis.
I can't believe you can't say courier.
Courier.
No, I'm not going Q. I'm not like a snooker Q. C. Can you say COO? What does that say?
So Delivery Boy is my favourite. is one I played before, and Muppet Racemania. I'd played before. Yeah. Vanishing Point I played before, but not on the PS1. And I think that was it. Actually, I don't think any of the others I'd actually played before. So there was lots of new ones for once for me, which was nice.
It's normally the other way around.
The other way around. So yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, good.
It's excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Well, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed another fun episode. And as always, please reach out to us on Discord, probably the best way. But there's, you can reach out to us on Twitter or any social media. And please tell us if you tried any of these games, what you thought of them. Any other shout outs that you have from memories of PS1 arcade racers. And we'd love to hear. So that's awesome. And please look out. We've got the exciting times. Hopefully the next couple of episodes that will be coming out.
Yeah, we're aiming for that, aren't we? As it will be the big Amiga episode.
Yeah, so there might be a little delay to the next one because it may, like the Spectrum one, it's a big undertaking that we will have to go through and editing and recording. But I think it'd be worth it. For both Amiga lovers and people that want to learn. I think the podcast along with the book will be a great introduction if you don't know the Amiga that well. I think you've got a great way in to try some of the best the Amiga has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, boys and girls, have a great one and catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Keep it retro.